Cussing makes my brain feel more comfortable inside of my skull. That's my excuse. Be advised. Hey y'all, I'm Jenn. I'm from Oakland and I'm an androgynous, black, lesbian feminist and a lover of all black people.
This is Daren. I'm an asexual novelist, researcher, and bona fide comic book fanatic from the whitest part of Southern California.
Orange County. We're queer millennials with 3 kids and nearly 20 years of marriage.
This is a podcast about the realities of blackness, adulting, and relationships.
This is That Black Couple. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Octubre.
Octubre.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm doing Duolingo. Octubre.
No.
Are you criticizing my accent?
Anyway, welcome to October. I think it's the Libra season. Go Libras, it's your birthday. Go Libras, it's your birthday. I like Libras.
I do like Libras.
I'm excited. Today is a Black mental health check-in episode.
Yeah, and I think we can all stand to check in with each other.
Yeah, it's been kind of rough. You ready to get started?
I guess.
Okay. This is episode 7 of season 5 of That Black Couple. Go grab your hot tea or some water or some Gatorade, something that will hydrate you, because 2023 is really 2023 and we don't need y'all not hydrated. We need to be hydrated. Most of what the problem is with our bodies is that we fucking thirsty. We're thirsty. Don't be thirsty. Have a seat. This is That Black Couple. I'm Jenn.
I'm Daren.
And before we get started, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at That BLK Couple. Follow us on Facebook at That Black Couple. And look us up on the internets. We do have a website, www.thatblackcouple.com.
And you can stream us everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Pandora, Audible. You know, all of them. Everywhere you listen to podcasts, that's where you find us. But most importantly, where you can find all the cool extra special stuff is on the Patreon. All right, you ready?
Yes. Absolutely. Let's get started with the first segment.
Let's go.
Okay, so first things first, I want to check in about our mental health. Dorinda.
Yes.
How is your mental health this month in this moment?
How is my mental health? My mental health is on struggle. It is on struggle. I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. You might have noticed the last episode took a minute
to get up, post it.
To get up. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Usually our issue is finding the time to record.
Yeah.
Usually it's like, oh, we're traveling.
When can we sit down?
We got kids. We got all these things going on. Usually it's like we need a minute to sit down and record it.
Yes.
This time it was me.
Ooh, I'm glad you're admitting it on the tape.
It's on tape. It's on wax.
Wow.
It's recorded.
This is a new moment for us.
We're sharing. This is a sharing moment.
I want everyone to sit. Let's just have a moment of silence for Daren's honesty. All right, we're back.
This is a safe space. So
I'm glad that we were able to share that here.
Being honest here.
Wow.
And it's just because I've been going through. It's just been a lot. It's been a lot. It's been a lot.
Yeah.
On every end. From every corner.
I do. I understand. We've been doing the absolute most. And
the thing is about it is, I love this podcast. We've been doing it for years.
Yes.
I don't see no stopping.
No, I don't either.
But it's truly a labor of love.
Yes, it is.
There is a labor component to it. And sometimes you don't got it.
Sometimes you worn the hell out.
And part of taking care of your mental health is recognizing when you don't got it.
Yeah.
And not trying to just, drive that car on fumes.
Yeah.
Because you do that and then you end up on the side of the road.
Laid out.
And we don't want that.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, that's how I've been, but I feel like I'm on an upswing now.
That's great.
I will say, generally sometimes people have struggles with fall just because of nature.
Season.
Yeah, the change in season. Sometimes it's difficult for people. It's colder. It's darker. There's less sun. And sometimes that literally will affect people's mood.
Yeah.
I don't think it's affecting mine. I tend to love fall. personally.
I love fall.
But I know that's another thing that can come up for people during this time.
Yeah.
Now, what about you?
Well, what the fuck is all I can say about my mental health. Yeah. I mean, wow. I don't have a podcast posting as evidence to show that I'm a little behind on life. It's kind of just everything. It's like when you're juggling all these things and then one ball drops and you look down at it and then all the balls drop and you're like, like that's kind of how I've been feeling. Yeah, I had a really awful trip to Mexico that ended up being traumatizing as hell. And I think what ended up happening is I was holding all the tension in my body and the stress in my body from that trip. And I've just been carrying it with me ever since. And so I haven't had time to work through it and to rest and get sleep and to take care of myself since then. So I did exactly what you just described. I've been running on fumes. I've just been like, well, it's fine. It's not. Yeah. It's not fine.
Well, and life doesn't stop.
Life don't stop, and everything catches up to you eventually. So the reason why we're talking about this is because World Mental Health Day was October 10th. And it's always important that we take time to actually sit with ourselves and check in with our bodies about, what's happening, what's changed. I've been thinking a lot, and I got a video. My girlfriend sent me a video from this doctor who was talking about the season changing. And she was saying, when the season changes, you have to think about your diet. Your diet changes. You may crave more sweet things. You may crave more sugar-rich foods, but you need to start thinking about more protein-rich foods to keep yourself full, but also eating something that's healthy, right? Because you may want to eat more things they're filling, but they're not good for you. She was talking about how, with the weather change, that you might want to increase your vitamin D, especially for melanated folks. We should take vitamin D supplements, or eat foods that are, have a wealth of vitamin D in them. And it was just these little things where I was like, yeah, the season has changed, and I do live in a place that doesn't have as much sun, and that does affect me, But also, fall is hard generally for a lot of us who are related to school in any way, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. When you're going back and you're teaching, and students are there, and they've had a long summer, and it's like it takes a long time to get them acclimated back to the classroom. And then shit is popping off in the world, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Politically, globally, things are not okay. We've been dealing for the last few months with all these attacks, not even the last few months, just forever, but all these attacks on queer folks and trans folks and marginalized people and vulnerable people all over the world. And now we are watching a genocide in Palestine unfold.
Just watching it.
In real time, and we're all carrying this in our bodies. Mm-hmm. So we have to talk about this today because, there's the world will happen, the world's going to world regardless, but we have to figure out how to not just survive, but to also thrive despite those things.
Yeah, and I will say this, that's what I've been really kind of fighting, is, if long-time listeners know, I'll be watching the political news a lot.
Yeah, we know.
I want to keep up on
Fox News.
I
don't know why you be watching Fox, child.
You know what? I haven't.
Good, because they out their minds.
That's how bad it is.
They have really done a lot this period of time.
I like to do my 5-minute drop-ins to be like, what they talking about? Okay, that's it. I'm not even putting myself in that position. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't need to know what ridiculous stuff they're saying over there.
Well, we're going to talk about some things that you can do to check in with yourself this episode. Check in with yourself about your mental health, your body, and how to keep stock of what's happening with you personally and the way that you show up and still live in this anti-Black white supremacist world.
Let's do it.
Okay.
This podcast is supported by generous donations from our patrons and listeners. Become a supporter today by heading to www.patreon.com/colorcombosmedia.
You can stream the show on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud. When you listen, please consider hitting that heart button, sharing, giving us a 5-star rating, and leaving some dope comments. This helps us with our page rankings and gets more listeners for the show. Thank you so much.
And we're back.
We are back.
And it's time for the conversation.
I'm ready.
So, mental health. Mm-hmm. We're doing a check-in today. And one thing that, coming into this episode we were talking about is work.
Yes.
And I know from me, that has been a major source of mental health stress.
Yeah.
As of late. It happens to all of us. It doesn't matter, what stage you are in your work life, where you work. You deal with people, you deal with stressors, you're dealing with money, you're dealing with a lot of stuff, and it inevitably is going to cause some type of stress to your mental health.
Yes.
But what we wanted to talk about today is looking at that from a more global lens and seeing how that kind of bubbles down to you.
Absolutely.
Right. And so when you think about work, especially, worldwide, there have been a lot of strikes recently. Mm-hmm. It was the auto workers. We had the Hollywood writers. We had the Hollywood actors.
Yes.
Right? And there's...
Who are still striking right now, right?
Yeah, they're still striking. I mean, there's a lot of strikes, right? We've had the Great Resignation that's happened in recent memory, right?
Hotel union workers are also striking in California.
Yep, hotel workers striking. We've had people quiet quitting, right? And to me, all of this is just a sign of how workplaces take advantage of their workers and how workers are pushing back.
Absolutely.
And I really think that's number one, it's a great sign that people are kind of taking their power and not just taking it laying down and saying, well, this is what I got to do because I got to feed myself and I got to keep a roof over myself. But also like, there's some things I deserve.
Absolutely.
There's some dignities that we should all be getting
at a baseline, yeah.
And we're going to get it either through collective action or just cutting and finding someplace else that will actually value me more. Mm-hmm. We've also seen, coming out of COVID, we've had a lot of negative outcomes for marginalized people. People of color were more likely to die and lose their jobs during COVID. During COVID, the unemployment rate peaked at 16.8% for Black people. But then coming out of that, what happened was we actually saw historic lows in the unemployment rate for Black people.
Yeah.
Right. And so as people went back to work coming out of COVID, the unemployment rate for Black people fell below 5% for the first time ever.
Wow.
In April of 2023.
Wow.
Right. And so if you really think about that, coming from a place where unemployment was so high and there's all this stress and the people that are in your family, the people that are your friends, the people that that you see every day are just dying all around you.
Right.
Right. All of those stresses, all of those pressures. And then all of a sudden, everyone's going back to work. Everyone has jobs. But then at the same time, you're dealing with the stress of how your employer might be treating you.
Right.
Are you getting paid the right wages?
Right.
What do your hours look like? Are you being, even just the microaggressions of being Black on the job.
That's it.
And the things that you have to deal with from a day-to-day basis, right?
Right.
This is a perfect storm for mental health issues to really peak.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's so important that we do these check-ins to say, hey, are you okay?
So I think, I've been thinking a lot also. I wrote this tweet a couple weeks ago and it was like, we live in a country that, will essentially exploit you for labor, make healthcare access inaccessible unless you have a job, and will essentially gaslight you about taking your days off because they want you to believe that's more productivity. Like, take your days off. And it went viral. And I was like, I don't understand. And I was like, oh, I get it. Like, people not taking their days off still. Mm-hmm. And so many people responded to that. And they were like, yeah, I'm glad I saw this message because I need to take some days off. But I know what that's like, right? And I feel like I've been doing that for the past few months where, like, you get into some work, you get into something that's a project or whatever, and you put your head down and you don't look up. And when you don't look up, again, I'm going to go back to this video. And I think it was from Dr. Raquel Martin is her name. I'm going to try and find the video and we'll link it with the production notes. But one of the things she said was that when we really get into a stressful period, when we get into a period where our mental health is really at risk, is when we begin to lose our day-to-day tasks and routine. The things that keep us kind of grounded, those are the things that go first. Mm-hmm. So she was like, sleeping, showering, eating, right? She's like, when you get really stressed out, the first thing that goes is the things that kind of are the maintenance behaviors. And I was like, oh shit. Like, and I know that this is absolutely true because there's so many times where I check in with you or with my partner, Jamel, or with my friends. And I'm like, hey, have you had water? And they're like, I don't know, when's the last time I drank some water? You know what I'm saying? Like it's, and I feel myself doing this. Like I had some time the other day to just sit on my phone and call some of my friends just to check in and say hello. And I realized I really haven't had time in months to just sit and call someone and say hi. I just want to say hi. You know what I'm saying? Because the first things that we let go of are the things that really sustain us, right? Like exercising, getting proper sleep, having a proper diet, going outside and seeing the sun, touching grass, right? We buckle down, we get in front of a computer, we sit in a dark room, and we open our eyes and we stare into the light, and we do that for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours straight. And then we hopefully can drag ourselves into a bed if we don't hit the couch first. We doze off for a few hours. We dream about the shit that we were just doing. We wake up and we start doing it again.
It's that capitalism mindset.
It's a capitalism mindset. It's becoming a cog in a larger system.
Yeah, and you said that before, right? It's like it's this belief that you're not a person.
Yes.
You're an asset. You're a tool. You're a function.
You're an object.
Right, and so that's why those maintenance behaviors go out the door because is that serving the machine?
Right.
Does the machine need you to drink water?
Right. And the only way you're able to break the cycle is by taking a day off, right? By stepping away from it. This is one of the things that makes me really happy about the schedule I've curated as a professor. This is a privilege, right? And I'm aware of this privilege, but it's something that I knew that I needed. I saw myself in corporate America. I was working all those hours at Disney. I was working all those hours at PacSun. And I would get home on the weekends and I couldn't do anything except lay down. I was so fucking tired. And I was like, my body can't sustain this. So I have a job now where I go into the office 1 or 2 days a week. I go to meetings, things like that. But for the most part, I'm able to curate my time so I can stay grounded. So I can stay grounded in my community, stay grounded in my family, stay grounded at home, And I need that to survive.
But that's why this conversation is so important, right? Because there's some stats that show how difficult it is to be able to curate that type of a lifestyle, right? Black and Hispanic workers are much less likely to be able to telework, right? So a lot of times, if you're Black or Hispanic, you are getting up probably too early, running to work,
long ass commute.
You're there all day,
paying hella money for gas,
all the sunlight hours,
sitting in traffic.
You're doing some type of labor or service, right? And then having to fit in anything for yourself outside of that, which is tough.
Right.
Also, Black workers are much more likely than white workers to say that they feel like they're at risk of losing their job as a reason that they take less time off than what's offered. Right? Yeah. 21% of Black workers say, if I take time off, that might result in me losing my job.
Wow.
Right. And we can't say that that's a 100% real thing like that, like those 21% of people would lose their jobs. Right. But that just talks to you about the dynamics of being on the job. That when you are Black, like we're talking about the microaggressions, that there's other things that are at work. There's other things that are at play. There's other reasons that you might lose your job when someone else would not. Absolutely. And then 46% of U.S. workers who receive paid time off from their employer, whether that's vacation or, for sick leave or to go to a doctor's appointment, 46% of U.S. workers who receive that paid time off take less time than they are offered.
40. Oh, I see. They don't take all their time.
Yeah. So almost half of U.S. workers don't take all of the.
Isn't that wild?
And this is paid time off.
Paid
this is
time,
not unpaid.
Right? You get paid for that.
Paid time off.
Right. And listen, I'm saying that, but I know I did the same thing when I was in corporate America. I never took my time.
Listen, I know.
I'm looking right at you.
I can't look at you right now because I'm gonna just be real honest. I purposefully don't take my time off. I purposefully don't. I have a system where I can see my accumulated time off, and I like to see the number go up. I'm like, how high can I get this number? Now,
I want to punch you.
To be clear, part of that is when I leave this current,
you're gonna get paid for autumn days.
Right, I want to be able to say I'm gonna take 2 months off with pay.
That's smart.
I leave, right?
That's smart.
That's good. But
in the meantime,
but at what cost?
Yes, that's the thing, right?
Like I took a day off this week because you told me I had to take a day off.
You needed it for your mental health.
We recently made an agreement that one day a month at a minimum.
At a minimum,
you gotta take a day off.
You can do it. Yes.
At least just
you
one.
You accrue faster than that.
And it was so painful for me to make that agreement. But I took that day off, and I thought it was gonna be bullshit. Mm-hmm. Right? I thought it was like, yeah, whatever. It's a day off, whatever. You know, same old. But I was stunned at the mental switch. Mm-hmm. Even as I saw emails come in, even as I saw messages and requests, and all of those things that usually
trigger you,
ping me, and trigger me all throughout the day.
Yes.
Even as they came in, I was like, "Bitch, I'm off."
Yes, it's an attitude. I'm not working today.
And the way my mental cleared up, the way I had space to think and to feel,
that's it,
and to relax,
that's it,
and to take care of myself,
that's it,
for one day,
that's it. When you tell your body, "Hey, we're off," it reprograms you. It's a type of learning, in my opinion, right? Mm-hmm. I used to be on all the time. I was very stressed out in my 20s because I was in corporate America, and that schedule did not work for my body. Mm-hmm. Like I could not be on from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. 5 days a week with all these white folk who were demanding all this labor from me, who were stereotyping me, who were racist, right? I was sitting in these jobs, people were touching my hair, people were making comments, and I was just sitting there taking it on the chin every single day, and I'm like, oh shit, my body is wearing down. Mm-hmm. I'm grinding my teeth, I'm fainting at work, I'm experiencing excessive blindness, like I'm having headaches and migraines, right? Because I'm pushing my body to be in an environment, in a space that is toxic to me. Right? But I take a day off and I'm like, oh shit, bitch. Oh, look at the sun. Mm-hmm. So this is so Arlene Geronimus has this book, Weathering. I talk about this all the time. And it's called, the subtitle is what gets me. The extraordinary stress of ordinary life on the body in an unjust society.
Unjust.
The extraordinary stress of ordinary life on the body in an unjust society. That's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about the ways that the body endures stress, especially Black, brown, queer, trans, disabled, immigrant, first generation, working class, and poor bodies, right? Fat bodies that are seen as outside the norm. The types of stress that we endure just for existing in an unjust society. The only way you can combat those stressors is to take yourself out of it and curate spaces where you can be seen, held, and understood completely. And you cannot do that by remaining in the place where the trauma and the toxicity has happened.
Exactly. And like you said, it's an unjust society. And it would be foolish of any one of us to believe that we are going to make it a just society.
Just by being there.
We know it's not going to happen. But we do need to use every resource available to us, every opportunity that we have to at least try and make those scales of justice more balanced.
Okay, agreed. Right? And one way we do that is by removing ourselves from a system that is not meant for our survival and thriving. We have survived so many things, right? But the system is trying to annihilate us. Mm-hmm. It is not, you're not a champion. Like, you're not victorious because you survived a death battle every day. Like, ooh, I didn't take a day off and I should have because I felt like shit. That's not a win, bro. The win is I took a day off because I needed it, and now my body is better for me and my community. I didn't give that energy to these white folk and to these white institutions that want to suck everything out of me so there's nothing left.
Because what are we doing it for?
Exactly.
What's the whole point? What's the goal?
To what end? And they will never stop. This is one thing I really got from my book, from doing the research for my book, and learning that almost all these Black women I was writing about had died at such early ages because they were getting used up. They were getting used up and people were not pouring back into them. I refuse.
You can find my mom and dad, aka That Black Couple, on the web at thatblackcouple.com. That Black Couple is owned and operated by Color Combos Media. If you would like to help fund our content, sign up at www.patreon.com/colorcombosmedia. Please consider giving us $5 or $10 per month to help us build our platform and grow our organization. You can also give one-time donations at www.paypal.me/colorcombosmedia. All donations are welcome.
Okay, so let's wrap up this episode. I'm going to reflect on a couple things that my therapist said to me this week because she was kind of nervous about my mental health. And my massage therapist was like, girl, you okay? Like, she was giving me a massage. She was like, it's knots back there. And I was like, I know, I'm stressed out. And what everyone has been saying, massage therapists, is, hey, you got to chill the fuck out. And like, whatever this is that you're carrying with you, you need to really sit with it and get grounded. Something about me is like, I don't know if it's because I'm an earth sign or just because like this is just human nature, but when I'm ungrounded, I really feel like I'm floating out into the ether. You know what I'm saying? Like when I'm not grounded in my space and in my community, in my job, in my work, I feel untethered in a way that makes it hard to stay focused. It makes it hard to see things through to the end. I feel like it makes it harder for me to do my best work, you know? I feel scatterbrained. And so what they said was like, what gets you grounded? And I'm like, yeah, I haven't been on my meditation. I haven't been in my insight, timer app. I haven't been journaling. I looked at my journal. I hadn't journaled in a month, I hadn't been journaling.
That's not like you.
It's not like me. I missed the whole month of journaling. I hadn't been talking to my friends. I hadn't been calling my friends on the phone. I hadn't been taking time for myself. My therapist was like, hey, I need you to go and touch your plants. And that was part of it too. I've been traveling so much that you've been taking care of my plants.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've been away from my plants and it's really strange, but I'll be somewhere and I'm like, oh, my plants, because I miss them. I don't know how they look now. They've grown. I'll come home. They got 2 new leaves. I'm like, oh, you had a baby, there's things that keep me grounded in my body and I wasn't doing them. Those were the things, those routine things that I started to let go first. And my therapist was primarily the one that said, hey, I need you to start thinking about that and getting back to those things as soon as possible. And that's what I'm working on.
Wow. That's really powerful.
Thanks.
I'm going to come at it from a different angle. Also in talking with my therapist. But I've been going through a lot of difficult stuff. I've been going through processing a lot of difficult emotions with my therapist really for the last couple of months.
And this is EDMR that you're doing, right?
Yeah, we're doing EDMR, which is, I won't profess to understand how it works and all the details of it. You can look it up. There's a lot of documentation online that's very easy to find. But it's a means for you to kind of really do some deep exploration of your feelings and what's behind those feelings.
Right.
I'll say for me, it's been a very difficult process. It's bringing up a lot of stuff that was unexpected, that I was not necessarily prepared for. But it also feels very, very important. And I think that's an important thing to note when we talk about mental health, right? We generally talk about it from a more relaxed, comforting posture. Like, oh, what makes you feel good? What's going to put you at ease? What's going to take away the stress? What's, all of those types of things. But there is a certain element of work. There is a certain element of difficulty and hardship that's also equally important, right? I don't think I'm comfortable going into all of the details of what's coming up, but it was stuff that needed to be dealt with, right? And it's stuff that I had, just swept under the rug for a long time and just ignored and act like it wasn't there and that it didn't bother me, right? For the sake of getting through and making it to the next thing and getting to the next day. But these are things that I need to work through. These are things that I need to feel. These are things that I need to address and face in a very real way. Yeah. So that I can come out better on the other side, right? It's like you got to take out your trash, right? We can't just have a pile of trash that we put, behind our house and just let it stack up and act like that's a healthy living environment. It's not. At some point, you got to take out the trash. It's regular maintenance, just like resting and meditating and, taking a bath or doing aromatherapy, reading a book, whatever it is for you that is therapeutic in that way. You also have to do the regular maintenance of taking out the trash.
Can I add? I want to add one more thing. I think also with all my travel, one thing I'm realizing, so I used to travel alone a lot. I used to travel to New York and I would kind of just have time to myself to reflect. I haven't had any alone trips in a while. And my alone time is now usually in an airport. That's the time that I get to be alone. I sit in the airport, I look through my things, I journal, I reflect. but I have very little alone time, and I'm realizing I need to cultivate more alone time for myself. Like alone time is so important. A lot of people, I think, because we have a culture of codependence where you're just trained that other people are supposed to manage your, traumas and your mental health issues for you. Like you're supposed to just not be a full person as an adult, and you're supposed to expect your spouse to parent you and shit, which is really fucked up. But despite all of that, I feel like I've always been a person who kind of went off by myself and tried to figure things out, I just feel like we're trained not to do that. And I think people should embrace being alone. Like, I'm not talking about loneliness. I'm not talking about being alone because you have to be and you don't want to be. I'm talking about choosing spaces to go sit quietly and reflect, going to a garden, going to a museum, going to a library, going to a bookstore, going somewhere quiet where you can just sit and read and think and process.
And decompress. Right? Sitting in a lone bathtub, wherever you sit, and taking that time to not be with other people's thoughts about you, not be with other people's projections on you and expectations, and just sit with how you feel about yourself. Like, it's such important work, and I think we just don't embrace it because we're always taught to be up underneath somebody else, whether it be our partners or our children or our friends or parents, But, curated, chosen alone time, at least for me, has been life-altering. I've come to some really important conclusions about myself by myself. Yeah.
Like, we have to love ourselves, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes I think that, with the mental health stuff, people are really just kind of scared, right? Of what they'll find if they really sat and thought through these things.
Oh, I know I am. Yeah. And have been. I have been
too. But I also feel like in the work that I've done and an exploration that I've done, at least in the last 5 years, I'm so grateful for it. Like, I feel like it's the best work. I feel like the self-work is truly the best work, and it really is worth it. And it lengthens your life.
It lengthens your life. It gives you better outcomes. You're able to be more productive in the ways that you want to be productive for yourself.
Your life is more fulfilling. You're around people who reflect the beauty inside your body. Like, it's just better over here.
Thank y'all for listening. Before you go, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ThatBLKCouple, on Facebook at ThatBlackCouple, and look us up on the internets at www.thatblackcouple.com.
Bye.